Hey guys, how's it going? So I was on the interweb the other day and I discovered this song, and it's from a 1946 movie, and I was shocked by the lyrics. And once you hear this, you'll understand why. But it also led me to three other mini rabbit holes, which are equally as interesting. So this has to do with two of our favorite disaster cities, the Great Earthquake of San Francisco, 1906, and then the Great Fire of Chicago, 1871. And I also talked about these in my Convenient Fires video. But yeah, these lyrics are strange. I do not know why anyone would write lyrics like this for a song in 1946. And then I will also connect the dots to three other mini rabbit holes. So check this out.
When they had the earthquake in San Francisco back in 1906, they said that old Mother Nature was up to her old trick. That's the story that went around, but here's the real lowdown. Put the blame on Mame, boy. Put the blame on Mame. One night she started to shim and shake. That brought on the Frisco quake. So you can put the blame on Mame, boy. Put the blame on Mame.
All your fault?
What? Yeah, it's your fault.
When Mrs. O'Leary's car kicked the landing in Chicago town, they say that started the fire that burned Chicago down. That's the story that went around, but here's the real lowdown. Put the blame on Mame, boy. Put the blame on Mame. Mame kissed a buyer from out of town. That kiss burned Chicago down. So you can put the blame on Mame, boys. Put the blame on Mame.
So that's the story that went around anyways, but it doesn't stop there. Not only are the lyrics very strange, in my opinion anyways, but if you go to the Wikipedia page for the movie Gilda 1946, you will find another interesting tidbit. When you scroll down, you see Operation Crossroads Nuclear Test. What in the world does that have to do with the movie Gilda? And you'll see that while Gilda was in release, it was widely reported that an atomic bomb to be tested at Bikini Atoll in the Pacific would bear an image of Hayworth, a reference to her bombshell status. So they also nicknamed the device Gilda, just like the movie Gilda, and they stenciled it on the bomb in 2-inch black letters. So 1946, the fourth atomic bomb ever to be detonated, was advertised and marketed in conjunction with this movie Gilda. And in the movie Gilda, they sing a song in two different scenes with very strange lyrics, in my opinion anyways. And of course they play it off as Gilda being the ultimate femme fatale, and the lyrics refer to a woman named Mame as the true cause. But it is just very interesting and strange that that would be the subject of a song at that time, and they would market it with a nuclear bomb explosion. And the cities that they reference in that song just happen to look like they were destroyed with nuclear bombs. I mean, they were decimated. That's why we're so interested in the narrative, the story behind these fires and earthquake and then fire. They just don't seem to add up, especially when you take into consideration population figures and what was possible without electricity when you go back even further in horses and buggies. So, but wait, it doesn't stop here. If you actually research the name Mame, you will come across Alfred Mame in the 1800s, and this family dynasty. This was a media tycoon. So this was your propaganda programming back in the 1800s. And if you read up on this, you'll see that it actually started with Charles Mame, where they had two newspapers in the 1700s. And then, it's funny, it says here, the Napoleonic police caused the financial ruin of the editor. But then it goes on to talk about how the third son, Armand Mame, came to Tours, and then he founded an important firm there, which would become the gigantic Mame firm. And that was Alfred Mame would be responsible for that. And if you look at the pictures, I have the pictures here somewhere, you'll see, this was a huge company. It was a giant corporation. It reminds me of the start of these huge media companies that we have nowadays with Disney and Fox and CNN, all of these companies. And they even owned paper mills. They had like 700 employees pumping out newspapers and books and magazines. And again, they were the storytellers of that time. Look at these buildings. I mean, this is crazy stuff here. But they were the ones writing history. They were the ones that were telling everybody in the country what's going on. This is what's happening in your world. And then they play it off, too, as him being some kind of philanthropist. And he was inspired by the social Catholic ideal, so he established all this stuff for his employees. But it's the same old junkie here with Microsoft and Bill Gates and Amazon and Bezos and Murdoch and Ted Turner, and you got all of these modern day equivalents. These are the propaganda houses, is what I call them. You got Twitter and Facebook. It's funny, in our day we have all these tech companies where the story's the same. They go to college and they either make the company in their garage or basement, or they drop out of college and they start up a company, and then a year or two later they're getting their picture taken with the president. So it's the same old, media proprietors, media tycoons. It's no different. You got Bloomberg and this Jack Dorsey with Twitter. It's funny. Drop out of college and then get your picture taken with the president a few years later. So it's all a funny story, but it gets even better, because when you look into this firm, this Mame firm, this Imprimerie Mame, and it actually had a lot to do with the Paris Universal Exposition of 1867. So that is very interesting. So this little rabbit hole just keeps going and going, and I don't want to go into a ton of detail. I will talk about this exposition, but this is the way all of these rabbit holes go. When you try to look into history, it's like a giant spider web of contradictions and fantastic sounding stories. But if we look at this World Expo, this is crazy. This is 1867, and that's the main building. That thing is insane. I did see a reference that it was a mile in diameter, or maybe they were talking circumference, because there's no way that thing could fit where they have it placed. It's in the Champ de Mars in Paris, which is right below or right next to the Eiffel Tower. And they actually built the Eiffel Tower for the next Universal Exposition. But yeah, if you look at the pictures, it is crazy. I mean, all of this, how in the world could this was all just empty land? When you'll see here in a minute, I have some very interesting pictures. But yeah, these Universal Expositions, these World's Fairs are crazy. And so this site, this is Brown University. So we get a lot of good information from our propaganda centers called universities. But anyways, the more recent one they had was in 1855. And again, the scope of these buildings is just staggering. And I think the first one that they had in France was in 1798. Was the first one. And then they started having them in 1855. Supposedly, this is the story. Who knows what was actually going on? But I mean, look at this monstrosity for that one in 1855. But what interests me is, and that one was in Champs-Élysées, which is right next to Champ de Mars. But this one for the 1867 one, I mean, this thing is crazy. It is it's a monster of a building. But what is even more interesting is that, and I couldn't find any information of this thing being torn down. I tried to look. I mean, I'm not going to spend my entire life trying to find this junk, but if you look, you'll see that, and they show some construction drawings. But look at this one, though. This was the one in 1878. This is only about 11 years later. So they tore down the first one and all the other buildings, and they built this monstrosity, supposedly. And then look at across the river. What's going on there? I mean, I have no clue what that's about, but yeah, it's very interesting. So yeah, there's no pictures of the first one being torn down. Look at all this stuff in the background. Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but this is just insane looking. These buildings. You hear some more, and this is the main front-facing part of that building. I mean, this thing's a monster. Look at that sucker. So yeah, and they built all kinds of other buildings for these World's Fairs, these expositions. I mean, gosh, look at this one. What is this one for? This was the 1889 one, so they tore that one down. They tore that one down to build this one in 1889, because, there's the Eiffel Tower, there's the new building. I mean, what in the world were they doing in the 1800s? They're crazy. But, so yeah, on this side, I do have some construction photos, I believe, are in this. Oh, yeah. This one's funny. Look, breaking ground on the Champ de Mars. Look at this. You got your horses and buggies. These guys are pushing the horse along. It really hurts. So, yeah, these guys are going to create this kind of stuff, They're creating all of this with their horses and buggies. Look at this. But they do have some real pictures. So if you scroll down, they have this picture. So I don't know what to think about this. This is supposedly the site in 1866. So this is 1 year before they end up with this monstrosity here. This gigantic thing. That would be this thing. It's a year before all of this. You have this. So I don't know what to think of that. I mean, this is a picture, but that's when they tell you it was. Who knows when it actually was? And then here's another one. This is June. This is even worse. We're getting even closer to the actual exposition, World's Fair. I mean, look at this junk. You have dirt piled up. You have some, steel framed something going on. 1866. This is April. You can see the massive Tartarian buildings in the background. I mean, a little mini train here, and this is just, I don't know what to think of it. And it turns out to be that. It goes from that to opening within a year, and it looks like this. I mean, I don't know what. Let's go back to the 1800s, man. They could do anything back then. So yeah, from that to that in less than a year. And so yeah, so let's see what else we have here. Just a few more pictures. And like I said, I don't want to chase these rabbit holes too much, but just looking at these pictures is amazing. And even if the story is true, they say they did all of this in the 1800s with horses and buggies, while simultaneously fighting nonstop wars around the world, building amazing looking prisons and insane asylums, and building railroads and blasting through mountains, and doing all of this within 100 years. And all of this is temporary. They build all of this and then they tear it down. I just don't think we have a clue what the true history of any of this is. I mean, look at this stuff. These World's Fairs, these world expositions, these universal expositions were crazy. Yeah, so these are the pictures. Oh, there's a big cannon. Look at this thing. Illuminated at night, whatever one this was. So yeah, this is pretty crazy. I mean, look at that monstrosity. 1867. That's the view from the French lighthouse. Oh yeah, this one's interesting too. They say it was representative. One could contently go from a rustic American one-room schoolhouse, representative of the ideal of free education for everybody. Oh yeah, right, the free government propaganda for everybody, putting your kids in a prison cell and teaching them to obey and become mindless citizens, to the replica of this Tunisian king's palace, or pass through the underground grottos of the aquarium and then relax beneath an ornate kiosk with its novel zinc roofing, iron railings, and curiously carved wood. I mean, that's not temporary. zinc roofing, iron railings, and curiously carved wood, in my opinion, is not temporary. Talk about, harming the environment. Let's just build, destroy, waste, waste, waste with horses and buggies. So, yeah, there's interesting stories about these expositions, this 1867 one in particular. And let's remember, we got here from Gilda, 1946, and a movie with very strange lyrics that leads you to a nuclear bomb explosion. And then, it leads you from nuclear bomb to this media tycoon and his family and his, monstrosity, his corporation, to the World's Fair. So, yeah, it might be a stretch to connect all of these, but regardless, each one of them separately is very interesting in my opinion, and I'm still amazed at how they could ever pull this off. And you look at this today, I mean, this is the area today. This is Champ de Mars. This is right below the Eiffel Tower. I don't know how they would do all of that in the 1800s and build it, tear it down, build it, tear it down, and then they end up with this. And I did talk about this in my layout of the land, the Tartarian layout of the land video, where they'll have a big monolith on one side, and they'll have this long stretch. They'll have a fountain, and they'll have some ornate Tartarian building on the other side, and I could never figure out what it was for. And it does remind me of the Tree of Life, the Kabbalah, and you have the different sephiras over here and through here, and it's all astrologically are connected. So that's one possibility, but regardless, that's where all of this supposedly went down throughout the 1800s. They were building massive buildings, incredible architecture, and then tearing them down within 10 years to build more buildings, and then tear those down in 10 years and build more buildings to end up with a park in 2021. So that's the story. I hope you enjoyed the story. And yeah, just let me know what you think. But like I said, here's the real pictures. This is what we're told. So amazing. I would love to transport these guys to modern day and build some more of this cool architecture for us so we could marvel at it. But anyways, that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching, and have a blessed day. Adios.